Welcome into a brand new Sports Hub Patriots podcast. First one of the regular season. We are here. Football is back. Alex Barth, Matt Dolph, 98.5thesportshub.com. On the day NFL football returns. Tonight, we have the opener, Chiefs-Lions. We'll maybe talk a little bit about that at the end, Matt. Maybe just get one take on that. But of course, we're going to look ahead to the Patriots Week 1 matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles. First off, ball, man, it's back. It's great.
Yes, football, Barth. Football. As John Madden famously said.
On Family Guy.
Yes, of course. Yes. Probably a direct quote. He probably said it at some point.
Probably.
And yes, excited for real football to finally start after all this fake football for a few weeks.
Well, we've had 2 weeks or 1 week of college
2 weeks.
Football. I'm already getting ahead of myself.
Well, I mean, it's true. Well, yeah, I'll give you that. I actually watched that Colorado game, so that was
awesome. Now we got that was seen as kind of, the Colorado was a 20-point underdog in that game. They came back and win. The way people are talking about this game, you would think the Patriots are a 20-point underdog. They're not. I don't think spreads really get that big in the NFL. They are obviously an underdog against the defending NFC champions. Bill Belichick calling Jalen Hurts on Wednesday one of the 2 or 3 best players in the league. But I understand you might have a take that you're not as afraid of the big bad Eagles.
Oh, well, I mean, it's not a Jalen Hurts thing. I mean, just to be clear, right. I'm a guy I was a Jalen Hurts guy before even last year, like first couple years in the league. I was like, I like this guy. I feel like he's going to be something. And sometimes it takes until that third, fourth year maybe for them to finally figure it out. Like, that's what we've seen in recent years. Josh Allen put it together in his third year, seemingly out of nowhere. But for Jalen Hurts last year, like that wasn't out of nowhere to me. I thought he was going to, reach that upper echelon of quarterbacks. And last year, you could say he was a second or third best player in the league behind whoever. The reason I'm not terrified of the Eagles, it's because it's week 1. Like week 1 is the ultimate crapshoot. And to make a cross promotion, like Tony Maserati, our colleague Maz, has like a survivor pool now that you have to make a pick. And you look at this week 1 slate, there's not a lot of games in there where it's easy to pick who you think is going to win. And like that's a typical thing in the NFL, but like the any given Sunday thing applies to week 1 as much as anything. And the Eagles to me are a team that they might be less prepared than the Patriots are. And like we've been talking a lot about the Patriots and their injuries and, all the lack of playing in the preseason. The Eagles have they've really played even less. Like I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, snap counts or anything like that, but their starters basically didn't play in the preseason. Like, very low amount, if anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles just were sloppy and didn't look good on Sunday. And like I feel like that would level the playing field. Maybe they end up winning just because they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league and they just have the better roster overall. So maybe they figure it out and pull away at the end. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's a close competitive game that comes down to the last few minutes. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I think it's going to be close, like you said. I think that there is a chance the Eagles kind of come out sloppy. Most of their starters didn't play, as you alluded to there, in the preseason. We can get to game picks at the end. This game to me, and ironic, and we'll get to the Brady thing later, and I promise this is unrelated. This is just how I see the matchup. I could see it going a lot like that Bucs game, where it's always close, but you kind of feel throughout it that they're just not going to get over the hump. So, it's a 4, 7, 10-point game for most of the afternoon, but it just kind of hangs there. And they never make that one play to flip it. If they are going to, though, it's got to start up front. It has to start up front. Eagles defensive front last year, 70 sacks, third most in NFL history, the most by a large margin since the 2000s. I mean, this is a throwback defense. And then it got even better. They had Jalen Carter, who was projected to be a top 10 pick and then fell in the draft in the offseason. And then you have this Patriots offensive line that we're all worried about. And I wrote this week, and it's in my bold predictions. People can check out on 98.5thesportshub.com. My bold prediction was the Patriots finish in the top quarter of the league in fewest. I forget if I ended up going with sacks or pressure rate. It was one of the two. Honestly, though, it's the same thing.
One of the top pass protection teams in the league.
Right. Which, again, it was a bold prediction. But last year, they were 11th in pressure rate allowed, and 4 of their 5 starters are the same. And the 5th spot last year was a rotation. This year's a rotation. It's just a different rotation. You're going from Isaiah Wynn and Marcus Cannon to Calvin Anderson and Riley Reif and Vidarian Lowe. So I don't know if this offensive line is going to be much better. I don't think they will. You need tremendous growth from Cole Strange for that to happen. I'm not saying he won't grow, but for a guy that missed essentially the entire summer, I could see it being tough for him out of the gate. I just also don't see how they're that much worse. And you'll say, well, injuries. Well, they didn't really have any depth last year. The only backup they played on the interior was James Ferentz. He's back, and then they got a bunch of rookies. So as rough as it looked, it's kind of the same group. And you shared a clip of this on Twitter yesterday. Was it Field Yates talking about the offensive line shortage around the league?
Oh, I'm scared. I don't remember this. That is frightening. My lack of short-term memory there. Field Yates tweeted something about how pretty much nobody has offensive line depth.
Right. So it's not like this isn't to say the Patriots offensive line is good. I don't think it's going to be like an all-time offensive line, but also I'm scrolling your timeline. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, you did share a Pardon My Take clip of Field Yates. Said a lot of people in New England need to get out of their bubble and realize every team has problems.
Oh, that thing. Yeah.
So their offensive line's not great, but nobody's is. And to me, it's going to be about how do you work around that? Or actually, give me your take on the offensive line first, and then we can get into how I think they counter the Eagles' rush.
Yeah, well, in general, I don't think you need like an elite offensive line necessarily to have a great offense. Like the Cowboys had an elite offensive line for how long? First rounders and all pros at like every position, and like where did that get them? They didn't have enough at coach and quarterback. So, and look, do the Patriots have enough at coach and quarterback? Like we'll find out. I still believe in Bill Belichick, but we got to find out about Mac Jones. I think they have enough around him that we will find out about Mac Jones this year. Which anyone who's listened to me knows that's my overarching take on Mac Jones going into this year. But yeah, like the concerns about the offensive line, I think it eventually got a little overblown, which I know we tend to do around here. We tend to overreact to everything. There's so much media going on. We got to do our pods and our radio shows and our articles every single day. And so for 3 weeks, they were missing, 2, 3, 4 starters on the offensive line. They didn't have both. They didn't have either a starting guard for almost all of camp, Cole Strange, Michael Winner. So concerns are valid about how they're going to start the season, but we're going on 2, almost 3 weeks of Cole Strange and Michael Winner being back at practice. And like, we haven't been at practice, so we haven't really seen how that's gone for them, but they've been out there. And so they're going to be back out there. I know they're both on the injury report, but I'm not worried about the only guy who's on the injury report that I'm even like remotely concerned about is Devontae Parker at the moment. But I think they're all going to be back out there. And with everybody healthy, it's a good, solid group. And yeah, I would say it's about the same as last year. Like Isaiah Wynn was awful last year. I don't know how you can be much worse than him. I feel like, Riley Reif or Calvin Anderson could be, a facsimile of what Isaiah Wynn was last year. So I'm not overly concerned about the offensive line in the big picture, but for this Eagles game, yeah, it might be tough out of the gate. At the same time, like it goes back to the Eagles not really playing much in the preseason, like on either side of the ball, their starters. And Jalen Carter, like, look, probably going to be a really good player. Is he going to come into Gillette Stadium week 1 and completely dominate the game? I just don't really see that happening. And, I think there are ways that the Patriots can sort of counteract that rush, which we'll probably get into. Yeah. But that's going to come down to Mac Jones and Bill O'Brien. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to have a solid enough offensive line, and it's going to come down to Bill O'Brien scheming up the offense the best he can and Mac Jones, executing it. So I think they have enough on the O-line. We'll see how it goes in week 1, but I think they have enough that they could figure things out there.
So they're going to have to – there's 2 big things they have to do to manage the front. And I'll say this, if they can get it blocked, big if they can get it blocked, you can throw on the Eagles secondary a little bit. On the boundary, it's tougher. They've got good corners, James Bradbury, Darius Slay, but
they're old.
They're older. Zach Thomas isn't a great coverage linebacker. The safeties aren't great coverage safeties.
Yeah, they've never had great linebackers, really.
Right. You can attack throwing the ball to the running backs and the tight ends, which obviously is a big part of Bill O'Brien's offense. So there's 2 things you got to do. First off, when it comes to the Eagles, 70 sacks last year, despite having one of the lowest blitz rates in the league. According to Pro Football Reference, they blitzed 22.1% of the time last year. That was the 18th most in the NFL. Or sorry, I got myself backwards here. Less than the league average. They blitzed less than the league average, 22.1%. They're actually right next to the Patriots. Patriots are 21.9. So they are among the teams that blitzed 18th most, the least in the NFL. It's towards the middle, but they're going to come at you with 4. And I know we don't like to do math on the air here, Dolph, but hang with me here.
I can do arithmetic. Let's do it.
If you're going to rush without a blitz, how many guys are you rushing?
3 or 4.
And how many offensive linemen are there to block?
1, 2, 5. 5.
Correct. So 5 greater than 4.
I think that's correct.
Obviously, easier said than done because they still got 70 sacks last year. But their Patriots are going to have the numbers. What it comes down to within that, you talk to the people who like study offensive line play, and this is Evan Lazar is big on this.
Oh boy.
You can cover up one spot, especially against a team that doesn't blitz a lot. If you have one weak spot, you can kind of shade your protection or put things in the designs or whatever that cover up one spot, and you'll be fine. Ideally, you don't have to do it, but you'll be fine. When you have to cover up 2 spots, that's when you're in trouble. And you look at last year when they had Connor McDermott in there at right tackle and they kind of had that thing figured out. They could cover up. Cole Strange was the guy that needed to be covered up last year. They could cover him up and he looked okay and everything was fine. When it became a mess at right tackle or when David Andrews got hurt and they didn't have David Andrews to help cover up Cole Strange, that backup center, that's where it fell apart. So this is kind of a take for the whole season, but I think it's emphasized in this game. They're going to have to cover up the right tackle position. I think we know that, we accept that. Is Cole Strange past the point where he has to be covered up? Because if he is, and you can, go 4-on-2 on one, 2-on-2 on one side, and then 3-on-2 on the right side to compensate for that right tackle, you might be okay. In this game, you might be okay. Down the stretch, that would be huge, like through the whole season. But that's number one. Cole Strange needs to be able to hold his own. Will he? Mm-hmm. We'll see. We haven't seen him in months, like you said. But Cole Strange has to be able to hold his own. The other thing they need to do, and this goes to the coaching point of, you mentioned Bill Belichick. I would say it's as much Bill O'Brien in anything covering up this offensive line. Are they calling plays where Matt can get the ball out of his hand quick? Are they doing things to upset the timing of the pass rush, play action, RPOs, rollouts, not designed quarterback runs, but just moving that pocket? Even things where they're bringing in a blocking tight end or an extra offensive lineman just to kind of skew the numbers. Those are the two. If the Patriots can do both of those things, again, Cole Strange holds up, or I guess Calvin Anderson holds up and he doesn't need to be covered up. That's a possibility too. I should throw that out there. If they can do that, and then they add in some of these mechanics that get the ball out of Mac Jones' hand and upset the timing of the pass rush, there's going to be some plays to be made in the passing game. But that's a huge if.
Yeah, no, it is an if. But like on Cole Strange, I mean, second year in the league, first round pick. If you have to cover that guy up, like that's scary to me. He shouldn't have to be covered up, even missing a lot of camp. He's been at practice for a couple weeks. He should be able to be almost up to speed. And like, maybe he won't be great. Maybe he'll look a little sloppy. Maybe we'll have a couple of bad moments there where he gets blown up on the interior. But I would hope they don't have to cover up Cole Strange at this point. It's really just right tackle. And so that's where I would look at who are they going to elevate from the practice squad. I think Zappe is an obvious one that they're going to elevate Bailey Zappe to be the backup quarterback for this game. But then where do they go from there? And I wonder if they're going to go to Matt Sokol, the tight end, who is, I think, the best blocking tight end, the best pure blocker at tight end on the team. So maybe they have to call him up and run plays like that with 2 tight ends. Maybe they got to run 12 personnel more than they want to in certain situations. Maybe they got to put an extra tackle out there at certain points. I know that they're probably going to want to do that at some point based on what we saw in camp. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they configure the blocking up front. But yeah, like play calling, you touched on all of it. RPOs, quick game. I'm wondering if there's going to be a play or two in the game where they sort of identify a pass rusher that's ready to just pin his ears back and get after Mac Jones. And the way you take advantage of that, you get a quick dump off to the running back, you catch him in the backfield over pursuing. And so I wonder if there's going to be a few plays like that. Like that's where we're putting a lot of faith in Bill O'Brien to really have this D-line down and studied and know their tendencies and know exactly when to sort of pounce on them and sort of exploit the fact that they're just going to be trying to get after the quarterback. So that's going to be very interesting. And, as I wrote on 985 The Sports Hub, it's really all on Mac Jones. Even if Bill O'Brien has the perfect scheme up there, Mac Jones still has to make the right decisions, protect the ball, and be efficient, and he has to do it all under duress, and he's probably going to be under duress on a lot of plays. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they configure the blocking. I'm confident that Bill O'Brien's going to have a good game plan as far as how to take advantage and, sort of use that pass rush against them, so to speak. But it's all going to come down to how Mac Jones executes it.
On the practice squad elevations, you mentioned that.
Yep.
Zappy should be one. I don't think Matt Corral is going to be ready at this point. I think they should be good on the blocking tight end, having signed Pharaoh Brown to the active roster. You mentioned the quick dump offs to the running back, and I think and I talked about it earlier, like their linebackers aren't great in coverage, their safeties aren't great in coverage. So I think this is a game where you could be throwing to the running back a lot. I would love to see Ty Montgomery get elevated for this game. I think that would make a lot of sense, and he's the guy that would be on the receiving end of a lot of these things we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was thinking Ramondre Stevenson, but it's an interesting decision. And Pharaoh Brown, that's a good point that he was signed to the 53-man roster, right? So they don't have to elevate a tight end. So there you go.
Unless they feel like Sokol has a better read on the playbook. I mean, Brown just got here a week ago. I think it was like a week ago today. So
right, he wasn't. I had him as the fourth tight end just because he just got here. But the fact that he's on the main roster might make it easier for them to call up someone else from the practice squad. So that's a good point. And they might have to call up. They might just have to call up a running back just to have that depth, right? So I mean, that'll be interesting to see who they call up. And like I said though, it's going to come down to Mac Jones and whatever's around him. Hopefully that's all good, and hopefully they're all pulling in the same direction and all that. But he's got to execute. He's going to have to do it under pressure.
Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the other side of the ball, because I think there's been a lot of talk about how the Patriots are going to handle. Or we got one more on this side. The Matt Patricia effect. Buying or selling?
He's a senior defensive assistant.
Yes.
How hilarious would it be if the Patriots just went up and down the field on the Eagles, scored 30?
That would be everything to me.
They scored a touchdown to get to 34 points, and then you cut to Matt Patricia making a face on the sideline. That would just be porn for Patriots fans. But I don't know. He's a senior defensive assistant. I don't know if that's enough intel on the Patriots. I know he was here last year. He was directly coached by Mac Jones, and he's going to tell. But what can he tell the Eagles that you wouldn't already know just by watching the film? Get after him. He's going to make bad decisions under pressure. Maybe they could learn a tick or learn a tell from him, just to figure out what he's going to do. But I think with this whole new offense under Bill O'Brien, and the fact that everyone's bought in and everyone's on the same page and all that, I feel like it's just going to be a completely different looking system. And I just feel like their confidence is going to be so much better and so much different from last year, and probably even better than 2 years ago. They got better pass catchers than they did 2 years ago. So I'm not sure how much I buy into Matt Patricia having too much of an effect on the game, just because he's just an assistant. He's not. If he was the head coach, I might think differently. I might look at Brian Daboll, Josh McDaniels as more guys that I would be a little more worried about as a former Patriots guy. But Matt Patricia, I think if anything, it would hurt the Eagles. I think if anything, he's going to be a detriment to the Eagles rather than an asset against the Patriots.
I'm selling. Like you said, it's a new offense. I think the biggest change or the biggest thing he could do is be like, yeah, this is kind of the best pressure to get Mac Jones, but you're the Eagles. You get pressure everywhere. I honestly think if the Eagles were a worse team, I almost think Patricia would make more of an impact. I think they're just so good. Any impact he would make, they just have the ability to do those things without even knowing they need to do them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think he elevates what is such a good Eagles pass rush that much.
And the fact that he's in the same building as Darius Slay again, it's like he might look at Matt Patricia and be like, look, I don't need your help, dude. All right. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting to see how that develops with Matt Patricia.
All right, let's go over to the other side of the ball. I thought this was a really interesting number from Taylor Kiles of CLNS Media. He shared this early this week because there's been a lot of talk about the mobile quarterbacks. And I know I was on with Joe Murray last night.
He's
the
big
number,
on that.
what, 1-9 since 2020 against mobile quarterbacks. I think
that
there are some
pretty arbitrary.
I think there are some other elements to this. The RPO thing, that's killed them. We've seen them struggle with that against Miami. But Taylor's stat, last year, Jalen Hurts led the NFL with a 110.8 passer rating from the pocket. That plummeted to 24. So we're going from 110.8 to 24 when he scrambled. So the plan shouldn't be keep Jalen Hurts in the pocket and make him throw, because he's pretty freaking good at that. And the wide receivers, it's not just him. I mean, they're great wide receivers. It's a big part of it. We'll get to them in a second.
Right.
But he can stand in there and deliver the ball. But when he runs around, he's dangerous because he will run 4 yards. It's when you force him out of the pocket, but don't give him room to run. Again, much easier said than done, but you got to knock him off his spot, fluster him, hit him, and make him throw the ball on the run, but not let him run, if that makes sense. And that's where, to me, right away, we are going to find out if they made the right call drafting Marte Mapu. And what I mean by that is
week one, we're going to know the answer.
Well, in the sense that this game plan calls for that specific player. Who is the guy that is going to has the football IQ and the athleticism to follow the quarterback sideline to sideline, spy him, and basically make him move, but not give him any viable running lanes? The Fred Warner, the Matt Milano type, the guy we thought Matt Wilson might be last year. That's one of the things Marte Mapu is supposed to be able to do, but it's one thing he does that they didn't have. They should have Marte Mapu heavily involved in this game plan. If they don't, I'm going to be scratching my head a little bit as to what their plan is for him, because there is no better time to use it. There is no better role for him. Like, it's just, it lines up so perfectly. And look, maybe he's a rookie. We don't know what he's capable of. Maybe he just can't do it. I think he should be able to at least hold his own. You at least got to give him a shot at that, because if you can successfully spy Jalen Hurts, it changes a lot.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That, like, Jalen Hurts, like, he's a great passer, but he's not a guy. He's not like Patrick Mahomes, where he's going to roll out to his right and run around and then throw a 60-yard dart on the run.
Right.
He's not that guy. So
he wants to throw with his feet set.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like, spy him, but it's almost like you'll let him run as long as you don't let him plant his feet and set his feet and make a good, clean throwing motion. Like, I think that's what sort of what you're saying. You want to disrupt that whole thing. So it's not necessarily you want to keep him in the pocket. But you don't want him to scramble too much, but you want to try to make him throw on the run. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
My question is, like, Kyle Duggar couldn't be capable of doing something like that? Because if someone asked me, like, who's capable of possibly spying Jalen Hurts, I would have said Kyle Duggar. Do you want him to just play a different role, or do you think you have more faith in Mapu than Duggar to play that role?
They've never used Duggar in that role. They use him more in coverage, and he's kind of playing looser, more hunting the ball. I think he probably could, and I wouldn't be upset if we saw it. It's just 3 years in, if he hasn't done it yet. I kind of just like, this isn't a role they see for him, clearly, for whatever reason. I just don't think it's something that I know it's something they don't ask him to do a lot, so I don't know. Same defensive coaching staff, I don't necessarily know what would make that change right now.
That's fair. Yeah, just like, I don't know.
But I wouldn't be opposed to it, to be clear. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's a fair point. I just think outside of Christian Gonzalez, I don't know if we're going to see much of the rookies. And, like, we might come out of the game saying, why didn't they use a guy like Marte Mapu more? Why didn't they put Keon White out there on the edge more? But
yeah, not a Keon White game.
Yeah, I just think, like, sort of along the lines of what you're saying is just like, I just don't foresee Bill Belichick immediately. I know they like Marte Mapu and they're going to try to use him in different ways. I would just be surprised if they threw him right out there and said, like, you are the key to the defense in your first career NFL game. So, like, it's going to be interesting to see if they, like, how they strategize Jalen Hurts and if they want to even, like, have someone spying him at all times. I'd just be surprised if Marte Mapu had that big of a role right out of the gate.
Well, you mentioned Christian Gonzalez. And I've said this, I think Christian Gonzalez should be like a 90% usage rate guy. He should be their number one corner. Coverage matchups, I don't know that this is a huge Christian Gonzalez game. I don't, the way I look at it. So the Patriots, assuming they want to go back to what they do, which is you're going to pick one corner, you think it lock down one receiver, put that guy on an island. Usually it's the number 2 wide receiver you put on an island with a corner. And then you play the top receiver with help. And usually it's cut and clear. It's number 1 corner on number 2 receiver. And then you flip it. I don't know who their number one corner is. Like, is it Gonzalez? Is it Jonathan Jones? It could kind of be both. I almost feel like the matchup dictates that. And in this game, you got to deal with Devontae Smith's speed. And I think Jonathan Jones, that makes a lot of sense because he's fast. Size isn't going to be as much of a factor in that matchup. You want a guy that is fast. You want a guy that can hang with a good route runner. Jonathan Jones, one-on-one on Devontae Smith. You hope he can take him away. You get that. You then go over to A.J. Brown, put your bigger corners, whether it's Jack Jones, whether it's Christian Gonzalez, with help over the top. You're covered there. You have Marcus Jones, Miles Bryant, whoever in the slot. And then you have, I would think it's Jalen Mills on Dallas Goedert. I love the idea of Mills being this tight end stopper. I think it's a great role for him. Maybe that's where they use Kyle Duggar, though. Maybe Adrian Phillips gets some time there. Jabril Peppers. They'll rotate. It won't be the same guy throughout the game, but I'm talking about like for the most part, right? I would like to see Jalen Mills on Dallas Goedert. And I think that's probably the best way for them to line it up. And I know people hear Christian Gonzalez and A.J. Brown, the rookie. One, I think you rotate him with Jack Jones to throw A.J. Brown different looks. I think John Jones is your 100% corner in this game. And you're going to have the help over the top there. The idea is that Jonathan Jones is going to, like a lot of things, easier said than done. The Eagles are really freaking good. If Jonathan Jones can take away Devonta Smith and keep him locked up, and then you can focus more attention onto A.J. Brown, that's the way you're going to want to do it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think the configuration you just laid out is the most realistic and like the most probable way they're going to do it. Like, I wonder if how the Patriots are looking at the receivers. Like, do they view Devontae Smith as the guy they really got to shut down? Because like I know that A.J. Brown has been more productive. He's had a better overall career so far. But Devontae Smith coming out of the draft was talked about like he was the next Marvin Harrison. And like he's starting to come along. And I wonder if coming into this year, like he's going to, sort of emerge as an even bigger threat than A.J. Brown, which sounds scary if you're going up against the Eagles. But I look at it in terms of skill sets, like you're not going to put Jonathan Jones on A.J. Brown. So,
right.
But I think of the way you're looking at it, you put Christian Gonzalez on A.J. Brown as much as you can. And maybe you mix in Jack Jones to maybe sort of test Jalen Hurts to see if like you want to throw an out route on Jack Jones. I know Jack Jones famously feels disrespected if you try to throw an out route on him. So like it'll be interesting to see if they sort of mix up their coverages that way. But yeah, I think the way in terms of skill sets, I think that makes the most sense as far as how they cover them. But it'll be interesting to see who they decide needs safety help over the top. But I think with Jonathan Jones, veteran savvy, maybe they will trust him to just go one-on-one with Devontae Smith. But I'm interested to see if they use two deep safeties. Maybe they just play a sort of prevent shell type defense or take away the big plays. Because this is what I said on yesterday when I recorded Sports Hub Underground with Ty Anderson. Find that at 985sportshub.com and the Sports Hub app. Like they haven't played much in the preseason, the Eagles, but they could chuck the ball 50 yards down the field. They can go for big plays without having played in the preseason. I wonder if they're going to do the classic Patriots thing, which is make them string plays together and make them complete a long, 10-play drive for a touchdown or whatever and just take away the big plays. And, they dare him to throw the ball down the field to A.J. Brown and, like, you throw it into all this traffic. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting to see how they configure the entire secondary. But I think the way you described it, just in terms of the skill sets of the receivers and cornerbacks, it makes the most sense to do it that way.
I think there is a good chance that that's what they'll do. That we'll see that bend don't break. And I am super interested in the safeties because usually it would be Devin McCourty, right, as the help over the top guy. Now they're going to be too deep. Who's it going to be? That element of it will look a little different. And just for the people who are screaming, you got to get Christian Gonzalez, Jack Jones, and Jonathan Jones on the field at the same time. Excuse me. Yeah, that is their best secondary. Yeah, this game's weird because I don't know. Are you worried about Quez Watkins there, Dolph?
Look, if the Eagles beat the Patriots with Quez Watkins, bravo. More power to him.
Olamide Zacchaeus. You worried about Olamide Zacchaeus?
I don't know. That might be you might be throwing fake names at me now, Barth. But
no, that's the other slot receiver. I'm not even
that worried about Dallas Goedert. Honestly, he's not like he hasn't been great. He hasn't had that breakout year. Maybe that's coming this year. But I don't know. I think Jalen Mills on him is a fine matchup. Like I feel like Kyle Duggar would almost be wasted covering Dallas Goedert. So I mean, like I'm not even worried about him that much. You just got to take away Brown and Devontae Smith as much as you can. That's what.
Well, that was kind of my point. Like you're not. you'll let the Eagles beat you throwing in the slot. And it goes to your point. AJ Brown, big hit, big play hitter. Devontae Smith, big play hitter. If they're throwing to Quez Watkins, the ball's out of their best playmakers' hands, and you're forcing them to move the ball incrementally, which they don't usually do. So Marcus Jones should be able to cover Quez Watkins. I'm sure Miles Bryant will get some run there as well. This isn't a game where you need your talent on. This isn't a game where you want to be putting your best corner in the slot. You need your talent on the boundary, and you do have that matchup where it makes a lot of sense. And they'll line Devontae Smith up in the slot quite a bit. So again, with Jonathan Jones, like that just makes sense. You want your talent on those two guys. You're not going to try to, we got to get these three guys on and put this guy in the slot. You don't need to worry a lot about that because Devontae Smith's going to be, not that AJ Brown's not a tough matchup, but just stylistically it makes more sense. Devontae Smith is a guy who can just clean run past Jack Jones, and Christian Gonzalez a little bit faster, but you get into that rookie thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it makes sense to do it the other way. All right. Any other things you're watching for in this game before we wrap it up here?
Well, I just to touch on it real quick, the whole Tom Brady halftime thing.
Yeah. So I was about to say, what do you want to hear Brady say?
What do I want to hear Brady say?
What do you want to hear him say? What do you want to see him do? What are you hoping for?
I hope he thanks the fans. I mean, he doesn't seem like he was a big fan of the fans. He has to make up for that our friendly home crowd thing. Start drinking early. Remember that whole thing? That was like 12 years ago.
Yeah,
I think he should apologize for that personally.
Why? But that was great.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, because there was all that outrage, right? I think I was still in high school when that happened, so I kind of missed some of that. But
I'm kidding. Tom Brady doesn't have to apologize for anything. He's the greatest of all time. I'm looking forward to the ceremony. My point was that the people have been talking about it. We've heard about a little bit on the Sports Hub. I don't think it's being talked about enough how insane of a spot this is for Mac Jones. First game of the year, going up against a great pass rush with an offensive line that's a little iffy going into the game based on what we know and what we've seen. And at halftime, they're honoring Tom Brady. It's like, you better have a good first half. You better at least be close at halftime. If he has a bad first half, he throws an interception or two, and like the Eagles are up 21-3 at halftime or something. This is going to be weird. And so, like, I feel like it's a real tough spot to put Mac Jones, and it's not going to be his fault. Like, people are going to overreact to that whole thing and say, "Well, that's it. I think they killed Mac Jones. I think they've ruined Mac Jones." But like, I wouldn't go that far. It just wouldn't be fair to him to put him in that spot. And I'm surprised the Patriots decided to do this right out of the gate, week one against a great team. I wonder if they should have waited a few weeks to do that. I understand that they wanted to just get it over with, get it out of the way, but this is an unbelievable spot for Mac Jones to be in. I'm really hoping he plays well for the sake of the Patriots, and so it doesn't get weird and ugly at halftime.
And I have a thought on the crowd and the ceremony and everything. Is it a tougher spot than 2021 week 4? Against the Bucs.
And Brady came against the Bucs. Yeah, it is a tougher spot.
I think that one's the toughest because it's the same thing. Like you said, great team, great pass rush. That one's in prime time. Not only was Tom Brady in the building, he was on the other sideline.
Yeah,
but Mac was also a rookie.
But Mac was a rookie. There were no expectations there. This year,
I don't know about that. He was a first-round pick. He beat out Cam Newton.
Well, okay, no expectations might be a little strong, but the expectations are higher this year. Like
I think the expectations are lower. I think the pressure might be higher.
That's what I'm saying. The pressure. That's all about the pressure. Okay. The pressure on Mac Jones to deliver in the first half of that game is insanely high. And that's why I think it's just an incredibly tough spot for him to be in. I think that game 2 years ago, I don't think we would have at the Bucs killed the Patriots in that game. Mac Jones didn't play well. I don't think we'd be making the comparisons, but I don't think we'd be burying him for his career. I feel like Mac Jones has a bad first half, and then they have the Brady thing, and then the Patriots lose the game. Like, the discussion around here is going to be insane about how people are going to think they ruined Mac Jones. People are going to think he's done, and it's going to be like that. It's going to be rock bottom for him. And we can debate the expectations if you want, but this is just a huge year for Mac Jones. It's a huge year for the team. Like, they need to be good. He needs to be good. They need to be good out of the gate, and that's going to be tough to do. And there's a lot of pressure for Mac Jones to deliver in that first half. That's all I'm saying. I think it's a much tougher spot than when he was a rookie 2 years ago against the Buccaneers. I think this is way, way crazier of a spot for him.
People forget Mac Jones outplayed Tom Brady in that game. Yeah, I think that they should have a good first half. That the crowd's going to be ready to be a part of it if they give them a reason. And I think, if the crowd's getting crazy in the first half and the Eagles come out sloppy and they keep it close and you get that halftime ceremony, and there's a chance that building's real electric in the second half.
Yeah, I'm wondering, are the renovations going to make the stadium louder? I don't know if that's is that a confirmed thing?
Jim Nolan said that was the expectation.
Good.
When he spoke, when they unveiled this video board, whenever that was a couple weeks ago. So
I mean, might be tough for us to know in the press box, but I mean,
I'm sure they'll have they must have something planned where this was the loudest it was recorded previously, and this or something like that. But decibels, whatever the measurement is. I first of all, so on Brady, I hope he thanks the fans. I honestly hope they don't do too much for him. And let me explain this. We've taught, there's been jersey retirement, some sort of ring of honor, starting that with Brady, putting him in the Patriots Hall of Fame early, things like that. If they give him everything right now, he's not coming back, right?
Right. No, they're not. Don't give him everything.
Don't give him everything, because make him need to come back.
Right. No,
come back again. I don't want this to be it. I want him to be back again and again and again. So
yeah, no, I think the thing they did with was it last year with Richard Seymour when they just had a little halftime thing for him? I feel like that's really all it's going to be in this game. And our friend Evan Lazar accidentally let it leak out when he was on Toucher and Rich. That it's only the start. This isn't going to be a one-time halftime thing. I don't think they're going to do too much out of the gate there.
They can do stuff for Tom Brady without Tom Brady being present. I'm saying keep some stuff in the back pocket that he has to be present for.
I like that idea. I like that idea. Make him parachute down from the lighthouse one week.
As for the game itself, like I said earlier, I think it is going to be close early. I think the fans do feed on the energy of it. I think the team feeds on the energy of it. I think it goes like that Bucs game, the Cowboys game they played in 21, where it's going to be close. Maybe they get a little lead here and there, but I just think at the end of the day, Eagles make one more play than Patriots do. That talent just comes through, and it's going to be one of those ones where we're all going to be talking about. And I know that I think it was Hunter Henry, David Andrews, one of them. I think it was Andrews said yesterday, there's no moral victories. And I don't believe in that either, but we're going to be sitting here saying, it's a good first step. And from where they were last year, it's a good thing to build on. And then Felger and Maz are going to be like, so we like losses now. That's what we're doing. Tom Brady comes back, and in Tom Brady's presence, you're celebrating a loss. How could you do that to him? I think it's going to be one of those games.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was just looking up the spread. It's 4.5. That's a good spread.
That's a good
number. If it was 6.5, 7, I would have said take the points. 4.5 is a good one.
I feel like about right.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to actually say the Patriots are going to win the game. I think Dan Lishat said on Toucher and Rich this morning that the Patriots are going to win by double digits. I hope he's right. That would be a great story for us.
They do that, pants off. I mean, here we go. Let's get this season started.
Right, your pants aren't even on right now, Barth. I'm kidding. Short, I'm kidding. Sorry. I compare it to the first Rocky movie. You're not going to win, but can you go 12 rounds and keep it competitive?
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for. I think at the end of the day, the Eagles make a few more plays than the Patriots. Maybe they pull away a little bit in the fourth quarter, but it's going to be close and competitive for most of it. I hope.
All right, so there you go. First game breakdown of the year. Real quick, because it is sort of a holiday. NFL season comes back tonight. The Chiefs against the Lions for some reason. Jared Goff. What do you think of this game? What do you think of this matchup?
I think the Lions have become very overrated. I know they played well at the end of last year. I forget, is their GM still what's his name? Bob Quinn? No.
No, it's
yes, no, yeah.
I gotta look. I don't remember. I know,
but point
Dan Campbell's their coach. I love Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell's a fun watch. So that's gonna be fun.
Their GM my point is Brad Holmes.
Brad Holmes. Well, my point is they've done a good job building up a good roster around their quarterback, Jared Goff, but never been a big Jared Goff guy. I don't know if there are many big Jared Goff guys in the world. So, I mean, Mahomes and Reed versus Goff and Campbell, advantage Chiefs. And I know the Chiefs are missing. They might be without their second best player and their third best player tonight, Chris Jones, holding out. Travis Kelce has a hyperextended knee, so I don't know if he's going to be able to play. So that could be a bit of an equalizer. And I know the Lions have a good roster, but at the end of the day, like these are the games where they lose because of their coach and quarterback. So I still like the Chiefs tonight, but could be a close game, and it could be a field goal game. But I still like Mahomes and the Chiefs to pull that out.
Yeah, I do too. I like the Lions. I do like the team they've built. I don't think they're being like, when I say I don't think they're being overrated, they should be a playoff team this year. I really like, I'm a big fan of Dan Campbell, obviously. I really like Ben Johnson too. I think his offense is a ton of fun, and you don't see that many new things in today's NFL, and he does some new things, and especially I'm excited to see how they use Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that could be really interesting, but I don't know that the Lions are at this step yet. Opening the season on Thursday night against the defending Super Bowl champ. Like, this is maybe a year or two from now what they're building to. I think this might be a little premature to give them this test. Still think they're good. Still think they can be a playoff team, but I got to look at the Chiefs schedule. I don't know who else they're playing this year, but
you're not going to beat. You're not going to beat the. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I know you don't want to burn all the big games right away. But all right, here's a perfect example. In week 3, they play the Jaguars. The Jaguars are the team to me that belong, the little more proven, a little more name value on that roster.
Way better quarterback.
Oh, that's in Jacksonville, so it couldn't have been that. I forgot I only have to look at home games.
They're not going to beat. They're not going to beat the Chiefs by pounding the rock. That's all I was going to say. Like it is. Yeah. Well, they have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and a good offensive line. They're not going to be able to just establish the run for 60 minutes and beat the Chiefs. So I mean, we'll see how they do passing the ball.
So now that I look at it, every good Chiefs game this year is a road game, with the exception of the Super Bowl rematch. But they did that, remember, a couple years ago with the Broncos and Panthers, and the game was like terrible, and they were like, hey, we're never doing this again. So, okay, maybe this was just by default. Maybe, I guess you could have done a divisional game, but maybe this was by default. They really didn't have a lot of options here for who the Bills, but the Bills did it last year. The
Chargers,
Bengals, but I don't think you want to burn that game early. Chargers would have been a good one. Get to rip Brandon Staley nice and early, but shout out DJ Bean. Anyway, that'll do it for our first Sports Hub Patriots podcast preview show of the year. We'll be back either Monday or Tuesday next week to recap the game. So be sure to subscribe to the Patriots audio feed wherever you get your podcast. You'll get this show. We're going to have players coming on the Sports Hub shows. I know David Andrews was on with Zolak and Bertrand yesterday. Those all go to that feed as well as sound from pregame and postgame. Also, if you want, subscribe. The Sports Hub Sunday kickoff begins this Sunday. Me and Cerrone battle every Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. on 98.5 The Sports Hub, getting you ready for NFL Sunday. That is its own podcast feed, or you can find that on my Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Matt and Ty I saw it was getting ready for fall. I haven't listened yet. I know you did Patriots talk on the latest Sports Hub Underground. I'm guessing you mixed in some Bruins talk to that as well.
Yeah, we started off with the Bruins. Ty was at the captain's practice the other day, and they just brought back old friend Danton Heinen on a tryout agreement. So there's plenty of Bruins, but we also got ready for the Patriots and football season. And I have a new bit where I have concerns about whatever team the Patriots are playing. So if you want to hear, it was hard to find concerns for the Eagles among their media. But if you want to hear some concerns, you go listen to that.
So go check that out. Again, Sports Hub Underground, all of that, the podcasts, all of them are previews for the week. I got bold predictions for the season. I got rookie expectations, mailbag. I'll have my game plan preview up Friday morning. Matt you teased that thing earlier. Really good job on kind of Mac Jones in the spotlight. You got the wide receiver position kind of roundup up there. I think that's your big things. I feel like
that's my big things right now. Yep.
Right now. Okay. So all that 985sportshub.com. Enjoy the game, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.
See ya.